Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to CSSBattle Saturday Night Live. Sorry things got delayed a bit. Got occupied in something. But I'm here and we are good to go. Just set up the camera. Cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who all are here today? Today is gonna be a fun stream. We're gonna dive in something which is pretty new, it's pretty crazy, and especially for code golfing. It's weird and it's fun. Jason is here. Hello, Jason. Welcome to the stream. Come on, people who are here. Send me a hi in the chat so that I know. If you're new here, this is Saturday Night Live. We go live, try to go live every Saturday, and we try to figure out the top solutions by the awesome players on daily targets. Daily targets have their solutions public the next day after 24 hours of running, and it's a very good opportunity to look at them, figure them out, learn about the new stuff in CSS, the creative approaches, the new approaches that go into them. So that's what we try to figure out on these streams, a new daily target every stream. And we also try to do some versus battles. And by the way, versus battle, it was in beta for a long time, for a lot of months, but it went public last week, I guess. And now it's open to everyone for playing, for doing one-on-one battles with your friends, with your enemies, whoever you want to have a fun CSS match with. Mohammed Abdul is here. Hey, 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 welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Cool. Then some of us are here. Let's not waste more time and let's begin. So for today, the daily target is already decided. It's one of the target where the top solution is done by using border image, and that's the property I was talking about. It's new in CSS. It has weird use cases for CSSBattle, and I believe it's November 9th. Yes, this is the target that has a top solution using border image. It's by Ilya, and that's what we are gonna figure out today. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Okay, so before checking out the top solution and figuring that out, let's see how we could do it in the most straightforward manner. Okay, so these look like triangles. Let me just open up my... Yeah, so these look like triangles, but essentially you can also think of these as squares, right? So this is one square actually, and it's somehow clipped from the center. So you could have a square rotated by 45 degrees and you would get that, and you could place a rectangle in center so that that part gets clipped off, right? And the inner stuff, that's again the same thing. It could be another square which is behind the bigger square, and that gets shown automatically the way it should, right? Because of the way bigger square is overlapping it, right? So that's how you could get this target done in the most straightforward manner. Otherwise, if you want to go with triangles, that is also possible. The inner one could again be a square. I think that's the simplest way to do that. But on top of that, you could place these two triangles, just two triangles, right? Be it through clipping, or it could be the border hack to create triangles. Any way which you prefer, you could use to create those two triangles. Is there any other way? Oh, by the way, the first approach that we discussed, where this is a square, right, and we want to clip this part, it could be done with clipping, or you could place something on the top. Both solutions work. But yeah, that's what I can think of right now. Cool. Let's check out the top solution, the thing we are here for. Okay, so the top solution, that's by Ilya, and it's 108 characters. Do you see the gap? Let's just check out the gap between the first and the second. The second best is by Henrik, and that's 40 characters longer. 40 characters. That's, I guess, the biggest difference that we have seen, I guess, between the first and the next best solution. Crazy. That's the power of border image, and that's the magic of Ilya. He's known to be a border image wizard, and you can see why here. Right. Cool. Let's fire this up. Just a disclaimer. I have some idea about border image, but by no means I can claim that I understand border image very correctly. I mean, I haven't used it practically ever in anything, like not just like CSSBattle, but anywhere outside it. So it's gonna be something new for me too. If you're new here as well, this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a learning experience. We'll try to figure it out together, and hopefully we'll understand by the end how this is working. Cool. Let's do a quick unminification, and this is it. It's a pretty small solution. Okay, this is it. Oops, what did I do? I'm not able to put a semicolon after here. I don't know what's wrong. Something is wrong, but it's okay. Cool. So this is what we have. Let's do quick commenting. And you can see like there are only two declarations here. If you like leave this first one out, which is just a custom property being set, apart from that, there are just like two declarations. There's margin and there's the border image, and that's it. That's it. Just basically one visual property, and you have this target. Isn't that magic? Cool. Let's see. Where do we even begin? Okay. So I think before diving into what's happening here with border image, let's do a quick brush up of border image. Let's do it on MDN so that we have at least a basic idea about border image and how does it work. Okay, so the border image CSS property draws an image around a given element. It replaces the element's regular border. Okay. Let's see a few examples here. So this is the first example where it's a border image and a URL is given to it, which is actually an image URL. So our image plus the second parameter, which is 30. I'm not sure what that means, but this is what it draws as the border. And if we were to check this out, it should be available here. Okay, so this is the image that is being used. So a grid of diamonds, and this is what it creates. Okay, interesting. It's pretty weird. Like if you compare the two, the image and what actually got drawn in the border, right? So how is that? This is the second example where the same image is used. I guess it's the same image, right? Interesting. It's the examples here are using same image and like showcasing what different parameters can do to your border image specifically. So again, same image being used, but the parameters are different from the first one. There's a 30 value here, then there's a slash, and then 19 pixel and round, two more parameters. And this is what it creates. Much more relatable to compared to the first one, right? So basically, this is what we are getting essentially, but the center parts of all sides they have the yellow diamond repeated throughout, right? But essentially, this is what got uh, created as the border. And then there is this example where again the same image, but a little more different parameters, and this is what we get at the end. Here's one where there's a linear gradient being used, and this is what we get. You could use a repeating linear gradient as well. Interesting. This is crazy. So it's a linear gradient, and you can see the effect is so cool. It doesn't even look like a linear gradient. What just happened to the music? Just a second. Yeah, music should be back up. Okay, so those were few demo examples given here. I don't see any visual, explanation of what border image does. So this is the syntax for the property. It doesn't look like I don't think this should be categorized as syntax. It's more of an example of a syntax, right? It's not telling me what 27 is supposed to be. Let's try to maybe search for a better tutorial for this. Understanding border image, this is from 2020, it's pretty old. I hope it has the latest syntax in there. There's actually no better thing I can see here actually. Let's check it out. Okay, so essentially this property allows us to use an image as a border, and we need to specify where to slice the image, dividing the image into 9 sections. So if you have an image, you could create this grid of 3 by 3, and that gives you 9 sections from that particular image, and those 9 sections are what gets used to create the border. So I believe these things, they form the corner of the border, right? These sections, and then what you get here in the center, that gets in between the corners, right? On respective sides. These sections come as the center part of the border, probably get stretched, I guess. I'm just assuming. So that's what is that is what is the purpose of the line sections are, and how the browser should apply those sections to the edges of your elements. Right. So maybe should be stretched, should be repeated. Probably that is what it means. Okay. So this is the image that is being used. It's 100 pixel by 100 pixel. The second part can have from 1 to 4 values, much like the border width property, and they're specified in the same order: top, right, bottom, left. You can use percentages of pixel. Percentages require the percent. Pixel can be done without the px unit. That's weird. But this is what it means. Let's just zoom in here. Okay, so if we take this value, it says 25. So this is pixel. I'm not sure what the image relates to, the first one or the second one, but 20, 50, 30, 25. Oh, the two rules above are equivalent. They slice the image in the same places. Okay. Not sure where the values are coming from. Like, I don't see any 50 in the declaration, in the value in this declaration. So yeah, I guess this is what I was trying to say. Um, the middle sections, which are these middle sections that you get out of the image, they are placed in the center of the edges, right? The borders on the four sides, the middle part that gets replaced by these sections from the images, and you can control if these sections, do they like just stretch along the border, or do they repeat? So you can control that, seems. Okay, still not sure what the values mean here. The second part can have one from four values, much like border width property, and they're specified in the same order. Top right. So what are we trying to say when we say 25%? Oh, is it like, are we creating these lines? This line, right? If you want to slice a particular image into 9 sections. Oops, the music went off again. I'll try one more time. This starts working. Okay. Okay, final attempt. Let the music stays. Cool. So, what I was trying to say is, if you have an image and you want to divide it into 9 sections, I guess that basically means you want to add these lines, right? Or basically these lines. So there is this one line, you want to add another line, and then another line, and then another line. So 4 lines, if you place them in some way, one from the top edge, one from the right edge, one from the bottom edge, you would get these 9 sections, right? So I think that's what these four values mean. you need to specify the offset or probably the distance. So 25%, and that's for the top. So I guess that means 25% from the top is where you place this particular uh, division line. And then right is 30%. So this would be 30%, and that's where the right division line gets placed, and so on. I think that should be it. Let's see. So yeah, it's 25%. So this is 25, right? The top one. And then the right is 30%. So I guess, yeah, this is right. That's where the right division line gets created. And then it's 10% for the bottom. So yeah, this is 10 and then 20, right? So that's how you get the division lines placed in the image and thereby giving you 9 different sections, right? Cool, that makes sense. Um, let's see this example. So here the border widths are different. 25 pixel, 30, 10, 20. Okay. And this is the image being used with the offsets, with the division line offsets as 25, 30, 10, 20. And it says repeat and stretch. So since there are two values, repeat gets applied to the top and bottom, and the left and right values are set to stretch. And that is why for the top and bottom, you can see the section that got picked for the respective edge that is repeating, right? So this is 50 and then 50 again and then 50 again. We'll see why this is exactly 50. I think that's what is left um, in the image, right? So if we go back to the image, you can see once the division lines are placed in a in this way where like this is 20 and this is 30, what you are left with in the center here is 50, right? So that's why it say like 50. That's the section for the top border. So 50, it's getting repeated throughout. And same for the bottom one. Bottom one would repeat as well because of the repeat. And then left and right are stretches, right? So whatever gets picked for the left and right, which is this part and this part, they are stretched on the respective border edges, right? On respective borders. So that's what we see. This blue area it gets stretched here, and you see it as blue because plain blue stretched would look like plain blue again. So no difference there. But it makes more sense if you look at the right edge, right? So this is an actual image, okay? This is an image where the sections are created already, and you have these lines on the image as well. The division lines, the markers for the dimension, they are all part of the image. And that's because that will make it more clear how the sections are getting picked up. So if you look at the right border, um, or if you look at the right part, right section that gets left out after the corner images, that's this area which is green and has this line and 65 written in it, right? So this is the image that would get picked up for the right border, middle area, right? And since it's a stretch, this should get stretched on the right side, and that's what we get. If you see from here to here, this particular thing is basically that middle section from the right side of the image, right? There's this line, there's the 65, you can see it got stretched vertically on the right side of the border, right? Cool, starting to make sense. Um, Border image won't do anything if you don't specify a width for your border. For browsers that understand border image, your image sizes will be scaled to the specified width. If you use border shorthand properly, it provides a nice fallback for browsers that don't. Cool. Okay. Border width needs to be there. Okay, I think I have a basic idea of um, how things are working. We could also look at this demo page to help get a little more sense with different images. Okay, let's see. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay, so um, these are different images. No, we can't select them. Nothing seems to be changing. How is this an interactive playground? Playground, in fact, reminds me, there is a playground created by Ilya himself for background images, and that would be a good way to get a little more hang of bot image now. Now that we have a basic idea, we should hop on to that. Should be in, it should be listed on BO's CSS tools, I believe. Oh, I don't remember, unfortunately, the URL of that website which BO has created. Sure, what the URL was. If anyone here remembers that URL where all the tools are listed, or if you remember the direct URL of Ilya's border image tool, or I can try searching for that here in the Discord channel. Yeah, I think I got it. I think this should be it. Order image visual editor. Yes. Okay. So this thing lets you play with border image, and you can control all the parameters visually through these input fields, which is much more easier to like visualize and tweak, particularly your border images to create different stuff, right? So here you can see this is the default that got loaded in the editor. The border image source specified here is a radial gradient instead of a border image that we have been playing with. You can use anything, like anything that goes into a border image that can go into what do you call background image. Basically anything that goes into a background image can become a source for the border image. So it could be a normal image URL, it could be a radial gradient, linear gradient, or anything of that sort, right? So here the source is a radial gradient. It has a fill from starting from white inside up till 70%, and then this purple um, going beyond that. And that creates a radial gradient like so, which you can see here at the top, right? This is what we create through the radial gradient. And this is the slicing that is happening, right? From the top, it's 10%, and we can tweak it to verify understanding. So if I make it 0, you can see the top division line that's exactly at the top, that's stuck at the top because it's 0, it's at the 0 offset. And you can see as I increase it, the top line, which is this one, right? Just notice this line that that keeps moving downwards as I increase it, right? So 4% from the top, 10% from the top, and so on, right? So if we keep it at 10%, the right one is at 90. It doesn't have percent, so that's pixel. That means this is the this is 90, right? And then 10%, so this should be 10%, and then again 90, and this is 90, right? So that's what the slicing is, and finally we get the 9 sections. out of these values. And now you can see, like, once this gets applied to a particular uh, element's border, this is what you would essentially get out of it. And this is crazy. This is the crazy part of how border image works. Even though the source was a radial gradient, when you pick uh, particular segments or sections out of the source image and you place them in the respective border sections, you can get all sort of crazy shapes like the one we are seeing here. So um, if you see like this, the 9 sections that got created here, if you leave out the center one that doesn't get used in the final border, the other 8 sections would get placed in the 8 sections of the border, right? And if you see here, these are basically the 4 corners of the border, and these would have these sections, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, respectively. And you can see with our particular slicing, uh, there's hardly anything white in these sections, in the corner sections, right? And that is why when they end up in the border, you don't see anything but purple, right? And that's what's happening. You just have purple here, you just have purple here, and so on the all the 4 corners. So that's the 4 corners, and then the middle sections from the source image, which we get out of our particular division lines, they get placed in the middle sections of the borders, right? And this creates this beautiful shape that you see here, right? This is basically this thing, right? This thing got not just like this, but essentially it's this particular rectangle that got mapped here, right? And since this is the available space, it's set to stretch, if you see, for the left and right. So this is the second parameter that will get applied to the left and right borders. So since it's stretched for both, whatever segment is picked here, that gets stretched in whatever space we have in the border area, right? So this particular thing got mapped here, and that's what you see here, right? And then all the other sections get mapped too. This one gets mapped here, and this one got mapped here in this particular area, right? So this is how you can visually create any source image and then work on configure the mapping, the division lines, and so on to create interesting shapes. Cool. Uh, I think I have a good idea about border image now, and we can also play in this editor uh, to to uh, to draw various interesting shapes once we have a particular background image as a source, right? So uh, with that basic info, I think we can move to Ilya's solution, back to the solution, and see how this might be working. Okay, so the first thing is background image needs a background source, right? It needs an image source basically. Anything that goes into a background image, it's also can be it is possible to put here as a source, right? So uh, here the background image source is a radial gradient. Is something wrong with my editor? I can't seem to edit anything here. No, still not working. Is it the font size? Is it too big? Refresh. Let's see. Can I type anything here? No. Oh, actually, I'm in the win mode. That's why I couldn't edit anything. Oopsie. Cool. Now it should work. I can bump the font size back again. Okay. Cool, it works. Um, so yeah, first we need a source for a border image, and a radial gradient is being used here. And if you see, this just the oh, in fact, like let's see the radial gradient in action in Ilya's border image editor. So if we copy this part, a lot of stuff going on even in this one declaration. So there's radial gradient, which starts with this 4q as the first parameter, and then as a second parameter, it's a variable being used with a default value of this. Okay. Okay. So if we were to just see what the radial gradient might be doing. Oh, by the way, like if you folks have idea about like what's going on here, specifically in the body image thing, uh, do help me out in the chat. Let me know like how we can best visualize what's going on, because like I'm completely new to this. So yeah, uh, appreciate any help here. Yeah, I wanted to visualize the background or the border image source first, so that we understand like at least what's the image we are playing with. So this one work because it has it's using a custom property called C, and we need a value for that variable. What we could do is straight away use the default value. So if C is not defined, this is what gets used. Let's use that directly. Okay, I think this is it. It's a radial gradient that uh, that starts from this particular color. It's a gray. So the first three values of the hex, that's the RGB values. And since it uh, has a fourth digit to say, uh, it would have a alpha transparency as well, right? That's the alpha value of the hex. So it's a gray with some transparency, and that's why you see this transparency pattern showing up, right? Where there's gray. So this gradient starts from a gray, transparent gray, goes up to this percent, right? Which is a big percent. Why doesn't this change anything? Okay, Jason says the color is just a cheat for the D9, D9, D9 color. Oh, okay. Okay. So the target needs this particular gray, D9, D9, and using the C gray with a transparency, with a particular transparency of P value, you can get essentially this color. And that's the hack Jason is referring to. Cool. Yeah, I was trying to figure out like why is this not changing anything? Even if I change 65, 78% to this thing, it doesn't break anything, it doesn't change anything. Not sure why. Is this even affecting anything? Yeah, it does. Okay. So the gray goes up to this percent, and then there is the greenish blue, whatever. That color goes further beyond the gray. And 4Q, I think that in this particular syntax, 4Q actually forms the radius of the circle, right? So if I reduce it, you can see the radius of so this particular syntax of radial gradient, it's a sort of a hackish syntax to create a circle, basically. Um, Here we don't have any color in the circle, but instead outside it, right? So seemingly it doesn't look like a circle, but it's um, you could have a solid color here in the center and then transparent outside, and that would create a circle for you. But here we are creating a circle of this particular transparent gray, and then there is this color beyond it, right? I'm not sure what this value actually does. I mean, it does affect the background image that gets created, the radial gradient that gets created, but it's such a big number, um, doesn't even matter what I put here. Cool. Anyways, so this is the gradient that we get. And if we go back to the solution, um, what would these things mean? Let's put in a space here. This is 2/50%. From what I saw from the examples, you could put in values after the image, but is it also possible to put in the parameters before the image? Background image, you can put in the background image source, or you can put in the slicing. I don't see any example where you can put in these values before the actual background image source. We can find out. Jason says yes, they are just put it before so they could drop the last bracket. Okay. If you have the radial gradient at the end of the value, then you can drop the closing round parentheses. Um, because of the quark mode. Had these values been here, we would have to close the radial gradient for those values to make sense after the radial gradient. But in this order, you can save one extra character. Uh, by the way, we wanted to understand like what these values are, and the best way would be, I guess, to fire up the inspector, inspect our elements, and see. So this is getting applied on universal selector, right? So both HTML and body. By the way, there is no element in the solution apart from the default HTML and the body, and both should have this border image getting applied. And if we uncollapse this particular value, we should see what exactly are the different components of the border image here. So there is it has a background image source. Why does it say none? It should have shown the radial gradient, right? Is it because of the missing bracket? Still shows none for some reason. Anyways, so the other two values, the 2 and 50%, they are actually values for border image slice and image width. Okay, the slice is 2, the border image width is 50%. So that's what those two values mean. Do we have those things here as well? Border image width is there, but I don't see slice. What does slice mean? Let's see. Is it mentioned anywhere? Do we have slice here? There's something here. The default behavior is supposed to be to discard the center section of the image and use the fill keyword, and use the fill keyword on the border image slice property to preserve it. Okay. Under the source. Are you referring to the background image showing none? The fill keyword, if present, causes the middle part of the border image to be preserved. By default, it is discarded, but you can choose to preserve it. Okay, interesting. What does preserving mean? Where would it show at the end? If you don't want your element's content area to have a background, the center section of your image must be empty. However, you can use the filling behavior to your advantage to create a box with a fancy border and a background. Oh, interesting. So, though the property we are using it's called border image, you can have a border image sources center section to show up as a background of the element uh, that we are applying background image on. In the preview thing, the slice settings are under the source settings. Oh, okay. And where is source? I don't see it here. Under the source settings here. Oh, background image slice. Okay. Uh, okay. That was just like one value for these four. Okay, that was being done here. So 2 is basically the value being used for background image slice property, right? And if you don't have any unit after 2, that's gonna mean it's pixel, like the documentation said. So essentially, we have the division lines at an offset of 2 pixel from all the 4 sides, right? I'll just quickly verify. Yeah, so if you uncollapse it, right, border image slice, that's 2, which means 2 pixel. And we can also verify if you make it pixel, and of course, it broke. No. Then what does 2 mean? Does it mean something else? Border image slice. Divides the image section, image specified by this into regions. And if you give a value, all side 30%. If you put just one value, it should be pixel. When one position is specified, it creates all 4 slices at the same distance from their respective sides. Number represents an edge offset in pixels for raster images and coordinates for vector images. That's interesting. Is this what is affecting us? Do you folks see the annotation still on the screen? think it shows in my preview of the stream here, and I believe it must be showing to you all as well. The annotation should have been disappeared. Okay, that's weird. In our cases, I think we are using raster images, gone now, but they were there. Yeah, weird. Okay, for raster images, our offsets should be pixels, so that 2 should be 2 pixel. But the thing is, when I turn it into 2px, it changes everything. Let's try one more time. So this is what we have right now. And if I make it 2px, it breaks the preview. And this is what 1 gives us, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's use 2 here. Let's remove all the percentages since we are not using that. Just to verify, 50% was border image width, right? Okay. So if we go back here, we're already 1 hour into the solution, and I wouldn't say we don't know anything, but we're getting some idea at least. Okay. So for this radial gradient, if you put the slice as 2, that basically means you can see the division lines, they are almost near the respective edges. And that means the sections that would get used for the border, they would be very weird. First of all, like if you talk about the corners, they are going to be green. The corners are all going to be green, right? Uh, because I don't think I can zoom here, or maybe I can. You can see this particular corner, that's the first section which gets used up in the left top corner of the border here basically, and this is why you get just green for the corner here. But if you talk about this slice, right, it's sort of like a bar. It's a bar with green on the two sides, on the left and right sides, and that gets stretched here, right? So if we zoom back, so this particular slice, which spans from here to here, this thing, it's sort of like a bar, like I said, with greens on the left and right sides, and that gets stretched here in this particular area. And this is what we are getting. There is this green on the left, there's some green on the right, and the transparent gray in the center. And that's what we get on all the 4 sides, right? Green corners, and then in the center, some more greens coming out. Okay. But I still don't get why, how this square is getting created. So first of all, like this is getting applied on both HTML and body. We could make it a little more clear if we just put it on body. We can copy this, comment this out, and if we just put it on body, that should give us a little better idea. Okay, so this is with the border image on just the body. This radial gradient again, And the division lines would be at 2 pixel. The border image width would be 50%. It slices a very small section of the circle, which is really big, so the curve appears to be straight, right? Classic code golfing trick to form straight out of curves. Let's put an outline of the body. Okay, so that's the body, and we are putting a border on the body. It shows up as gray. Why does it show up as gray? So if we have the border image width as 50%, that basically means 50% of the whole element. And if you have one side border as 50% and another opposite side border as 50%, that would basically mean the borders just fill the whole element together, right? 50% at the top, 50% at the bottom, and that fills 50% on the left and 50% on the right, that just fills the elements again. So that is why, like, with 50%, you just get gray everywhere, right? In the body, because that's all border. If we make this lesser, you can now see the borders as more of borders, right, on the edges. Cool. So that's a neat hack. If you make it 50%, you're essentially filling the whole element. But what are we filling the element with? It's just gray here. Why doesn't it show up like anything? The radial gradient, we know it looks like this. And with that, can we make the same as well? 50 and then 50 here as well. 50, let's make it percent and then 50%. Okay, this gives us green, and let's make it 0. I believe the default would be 0. Okay, interesting. Something coming up. Outset. Let's just confirm if this value is 0 by default. It would be weird if it's 10 pixel by default, but doesn't harm to confirm. This probably sets distance by which an element's border image is set out from its border box. Okay. Initial value is 0, and that's cool. So with 0 and the width as 50%, which is basically now filling the border, is completely filling the element. And with the slice as 2, this is what we get. Um, okay. We could, there should have been an option to uh, edit these 4 values together as well. That would have been nice. And we can't also edit it here. So let's make these a little lesser so that we know what's happening. Okay. So now the border widths are 30% of the element dimensions. And that's why you see some space in the between. And these are the borders now. And we essentially have the same thing again. The corners are completely green coming in from here. One second, they're not green anymore. Or maybe there, yeah. So the corners are completely green boxes. So they fill up the green here. And if you look at the center slices on each edge, they sort of give you this little triangle-like thing, right? I can't zoom further into the browser, but you can see here, uh, this center area, it's giving us this triangle, this small triangle, right? And that means this particular thing goes here. Yes. Just trying to bump this up. If this would be nice if we could toggle these sections. I just want to see the center ones or just the corner ones and so on. Would have been better to understand how things are getting mapped. Um, so there's this small triangle here, and there is a small triangle here as well, symmetrically. So when this slice gets mapped here in this area, we should have got a triangle here. I didn't see that. That's what's bugging me. So look, what I'm trying to say is, if you talk about this particular section here, right? I'm talking about the section here between the corners. It's something like this. There's a rectangle. There's green here, and then there is green here. But I don't see this figure mapped here. It should be green here and then green here, but that's not what we see. I think I need some help. Maybe what we can do is um, make this a little smaller. Okay, let's um, talk about this one. So the corners are still green, completely green. So we'll get the corners completely green here as well in the borders. If we talk about the left section here, that's completely green now. That's gone green. So that's what we get here. Let's reduce the width further down. 20, 20, 20, and 20. Cool. So this is what we are creating. This is completely green from the corner. Same here, right? The left and the right sections, you can see those are completely green now with this new size of the circle. Those left and right sections are completely green. And that's why you see completely green here as well. Those get stretched and mapped on the left and right borders. And then this is what we are left with. This particular section. It's a bar, it's a rectangle, elongated horizontally, which has green on some green on the left and some green on the right, right? So essentially it's something like this, which has green here. This is a little slanted because of the circle's curve. And similarly, there's some green here. But then when this particular thing gets squished in this area, right? This is where it maps to. So this thing, something like this, and it gets mapped in this area, right? So when these curved greens they get squished into a smaller area, they sort of like become more horizontal, right? So even though they are slanted, they become a little straight, and that's why you see this, right? You can see like it's still not completely straight, but you can see a little bit curve, which has reduced by quite a margin because the curves have been squeezed, right? So these curves are squeezed and they become a little straight. So uh, this makes sense. This is why we get sort of this thing. But when you make this full, okay, that makes sense. Um, the corners seems like they are, oh, I see. So this is what the corners look like, something like here. So since the corners are completely green, you get these complete green corners in the border as well, the from the four green sections. And then if you talk about the other sections, so there's this green rectangle. If you squish this into the smaller area here, I think this is what we'll get. Um, this triangle becomes this thing, right? Essentially, this is where we are stretching it to. Yeah, this is taking a little more time, folks, but this is something new, a good learning experience if you want to understand border image, that is. Um, okay, makes a little bit sense. And then if we go on to increase the border width, this is what we'll get. And you can see this like because of the radial gradient here, we get this small triangle-like thing. And if you were to completely fill the element with the border itself, these triangular areas would come in and they'll sort of connect with each other and then finally end up to create a sort of rotated box like thing. Right, as Jason said, because of the 50, all the borders would come in, they'll connect with each other, and then essentially we'll get this box which is seemingly like 45-degree rotated just from the border images from these sections, right? So yeah, that's what it is. With with the with this particular border image, we get this thing, right? You can create a square, a rotated square. And since this square is created twice, um, one on the body tag and one on the HTML tag, we'll get these two squares. And remember, like the value of the C, it's different for both HTML and the body. When it's not defined, the default is this one, which means it's gonna get used for the HTML tag, right? Since there's no value for the C custom property in this uh, rule. which applies to both HTML and body, but there is a definition in the nested universal selector, which means body. So for the body, we'll get a value for the C custom parameter, but for HTML, there won't be any value for the C parameter, and so the default one would get used. So for HTML, this is essentially the source, the background source, the one that you see on the left. But for the body, the value of C is this. It's first of all this color, which is our darker blue that we need, which makes sense because the square that we need there is a different color. It's a blue color square, right? So that's why the square, and then the value, this value is different, which would give us a smaller square, right? Because of a different value here, a smaller value here. So this is body, a smaller blue square, and this gets applied to HTML with a bigger grayish square. And then there is this margin, which is clipping the body. Oh, interesting. So if you see here, this is what you get when you apply this particular gradient as border of any element, right? So you have this triangle, or you have this square created, and then there is all like color fill outside it, right? So same thing here when if we talk of the body, which has this bluish square created from the body image, it would be this square and then green all outside it, right? Because the green part is same for both the gradients. So there's this blue square and then there is green all around it. But because of this margin, you can see this particular margin getting applied on the body, it gets clipped. The body gets clipped. And we can also verify it. Stick it here and put it on both. So you can see with the body image just on on both HTML and body, this is what we get, this same square-like thing, but it's same. It's created same for HTML and body both because the value for C gets used. This is the value that gets used, the default one, because of no definition for C. So you get essentially the same border image on both HTML and body, and so they look as if like they are overlapping each other. And remember, the gray is a transparent gray, so that's why this effect of HTML picking behind the body, right? So this is what we get, uh, but when we put in a different value for the body C, one second, why is the dictation on? Right, so when we put in a C value for the body, we get something different, and then the margin is the last missing bit. And what does the margin do? I can check that here by slowly introducing the margin, right? So this is by default, and at this point, the body looks something like this, right? It's exactly 400 into 300 in size because of no margin at all. But if we first of all like increase the left and right margins, you can see the body keeps shrinking. And because the body keeps shrinking, you start seeing HTML behind it. So the body has to be shrinked up till the point where you can get these triangles peeking out from the HTML behind the body, exactly the size that we need. And yeah, so you keep reducing it. Now notice what happens here. Since we are increasing the left and right margins, the body essentially is reducing in size, right? It's reducing in width specifically because of the pushing margins. And with the reducing width, uh, the 50% border image width would also get affected, right? That's changing simultaneously with the reducing width here. So, uh, yeah. So at this point, if we increase the margin further, we get to a point where the width of the body is such that when this particular border image gets applied, you would get uh, the same pattern that is there on the HTML, but on the body with a different uh, color, which creates this dark blue square for the body, right? And if we keep increasing the margin because of the changing width of the body tag, the border image that gets formed on the body that gets also affected. And now it's just a matter of like reaching the right particular width for the body so that we get this blue square-like thing, right? And then this is where we want to reach, like put in the right dimension for the body using the margin so that the border finally ends up where we want it to be, right? And that's the point. With this particular dimension of the body, you can see um, the body is just in the center now. And that's why you see the HTML peeking from here. This is HTML peeking, and this is HTML peeking from behind. And this is essentially the body that's left, right? With the uh, clipped width sort of thing, like the image, the border look as if they are clipped. But remember, like this is not a radial gradient painted on the body which is clipped. The square is not a gradient which is clipped, right? That's an important point to note. It's essentially the border that is creating this. So if we talk about the body, this is where the body somewhere is, and this is basically what the borders of the body are, right? It's creating these shapes from that radial gradient and hence the square. That's the trick. I mean, at this point, uh I think I get what the background, so the border image means and how it works, but still, like, I also get why, even if a lot of players now understand it, I'm assuming all the top players and most of the players, if they are like have studied border image a few times, they understand how it works. But I also understand like why only few players are able to utilize the border image as a hack to create these weird images. Uh, and especially Ilya, why that is a skill, right? Mind completely blown, right? Knowing how this works, I don't think I could ever do this. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. The technicality is different. You understand uh, the properties, the components of the border image, and how things are working, how the mappings are working. If you get a background source and the values for the slice and all, you can tell what the end result for the border would look like. But what I'm trying to say is, if you don't have the background image and you don't have the values, and you just have a target image in front of yourself, right? Which is this, for example. It's so crazy to even imagine uh, putting border image into work to create this thing. What a background image source should be and what the slices should be so that you get this final image at the end from the borders. That's so crazy. Uh, there's just so many components in there, the source, the slicing, and then those things coming into play, right? So many things, and and that's why like it's so mind-blowing to even think of creating these shapes with border image. And that's probably the reason why you see so few solutions on the top which are able to utilize this thing, right? And you can also see the power of background image, like we saw. It's 40 characters less because I mean, yeah, it needs crazy amount of imagination. It needs crazy amount of like understanding, and that's why the benefits are crazy as well, right? You can you can have so less number of characters and create such weird shapes. I mean, weird as in which have no relation at all to the background image source that you might be using, right? And that's why it's so difficult to master, I guess. But yeah, as Jason said, completely mind blown. Uh, this is the first time I'm like getting into pod image so deep, and for the purpose of CSS battle, it's much more crazier to learn a property in the context of right. So amazing, amazing stuff by Ilya. I mean, he's a border image master as we know him on the Discord server, and you can understand why. Cool. It was nice figuring out the solution. I won't say like I understand 100%. As I said, there are like two bits, the technical part and then the whole approach part. I understand the technicalities of border image now, but still I won't say I understand Ilya's imagination here, which is like so next level. Seth is here. Hey, Seth, welcome to the stream. It's another level of imagination to know how to manipulate this sort of thing. I might get there eventually. Yeah, exactly. It's so oof, I don't have words. You can all understand. Cool. Amazing stream for me personally. Got to know border image. I think I know it now. I can use it for normal purposes at least in the future now. But um, understanding this solution by Ilya, um, altogether a different level of fun and learning experience. Hope you all had fun too. Since we are too much into time, we are already like 1.5 hours into the stream. I guess we won't be able to play versus battles, but yeah. Hope this was fun. Hope you learned a thing or two about body images as well. And of course, appreciate the whole magic of Ilya's body image solution. Awesome. We'll try to meet next week, next Saturday, same time, same place, same channel. Do subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so that you get notified about the future streams and future videos. Um, and yeah, that would be it. I will see you next week. Hope to see you there too. Bye bye.